Hi, and welcome to the Business Weekly Show here on City TV, your most watched business show in the country. My name is Michael Lubudu. Isn't the view beautiful here? Anyway, this week we have very interesting stories for you. It's been a very packed week from Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, Ghana Card, and also fuel prices are up again. Well, we put all together in a one-hour packed bulletin for you. If you're ready, let's go. Have you registered for the Ghana card yet? If not, you might have to get it before the end of June this year because it is going to be the only ID for all financial transactions in the country. The Bank of Ghana says the move is part of plans to ensure the safety of the country's financial system.
According to the statement, the central bank's licensed and regulated financial institutions include banks, specialized deposit-taking institutions, non-deposit-taking financial institutions, payment service providers, and dedicated electronic money issuers, forex bureaus, and credit reference bureaus. The statement further explains that the National Identification Authority Verification Transaction Platform will be integrated into the Bank of Ghana's financial monitoring platform to ensure that all financial transactions performed within the ecosystem are linked to one identity and one set of information to facilitate the identification of beneficiaries for tracking and tracing purposes. Customers of the various regulated financial institutions are therefore being advised to update their records with their respective financial institutions with a Ghana card. This development has come as good news to stakeholders in the banking sector. Banking consultant Nana Oto Echampon believes this integration will make it easier to track persons who fail to pay back non-performing loans.
It is a good thing in the sense that the multiplicity of ID cards have not helped the system. So now going mono with a single ID card will help you in the tracing issue. It makes the tracking very easy rather than difficult. Now, some of the financial institutions, the problem they've been having is the non-performing loans. Sometimes coming from the fact that somebody borrows, they move on, and then you can not trace them. But now with the one ID card, anything you do will be tracked, and therefore it will become easier for you to be accountable for your actions. And so I think it's a good way to go for as long as the majority of the people will have access to the Ghana card. As we speak, there's a lot of hue and cry about people not having registered but not having received their cards, and therefore by 1st July, if somebody has them, it means they'll be shut off the system. Just as by 1st April, people who have not linked their Ghana cards to their mobile numbers are going to find difficulty in operating within the ecosystem.
Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Bankers Association, John Ewuwa, outlined all the activities the industry was involved in to ensure they would be fully prepared to roll out the directive on the stated deadline.
From I believe, middle of last year, the banking industry has been in stakeholder engagement or discussions with the platform developers and the institution that is tasked to run the platform, that is NIA. I believe the developers are also margins. We've been in discussions. There is a standing committee that reviews the work that is ongoing. So integration with the Ghana card system has been ongoing for the banking industry for over 4-5 months now. There are a few banks that have actually completed the integration work, and procurement for devices has also started. So we have every confidence that by the deadline that has been established by Bank of Ghana, the industry should be prepared to roll out Ghana card as the primary source of identification. We see it as a positive development because banks have been grappling with identity theft, duplicated IDs, and IDs that the security features do not meet international standards. But for all we have been told with the Ghana card, or as we know it to be, is a card that pins people to locations, is interconnected with other IDs that we have in the country, And it should help us to sanitize the banking system and to rid the system of these miscreants who try to impersonate others using other forms of IDs.
This announcement by the Bank of Ghana might be with the best of intentions, but the reactions that have greeted the move are quite mixed. Some think it is welcoming news, while others have some concerns.
According to the notice of the Bank of Ghana, institutions that will be required to accept only the Ghana card for financial transactions include banks, specialized deposit-taking institutions, non-deposit-taking financial institutions, payment service providers and dedicated electronic money issuers, forex bureaus, and credit reference bureaus. The Bank of Ghana also urged the financial institutions and their customers to update their records with the Ghana card in line with the new notice. Multiple stakeholders in Ghana's banking industry, including the Ghana Association of Bankers, have welcomed the move by the central bank, saying it will check fraud and sanitize the country's financial system in its entirety. But what does the general public make of the directive? City Business News engaged some residents of Accra on the new directive, and this is what they had to say.
I think what Bank of Ghana is saying is true. As a Ghanaian, you need to get the card. Or without the card, I don't think you are a Ghanaian. But when you go to other countries, they also have their own country card. So what they are saying, I'm supporting them. You have the voter's ID. For the voter's ID, I think that one is bad. It's for the voting. And this one, they said what? Ghana card. Which means that card identifies you as a Ghanaian. But for the voter's ID card, everybody is having it. Even someone who is not a Ghanaian is having it. But this one particular shows that you are really a Ghanaian.
Oh, I think it's a good initiative. But just that many of my friends and things haven't done it. And if it comes to maybe the outskirts villages won't get the opportunity to use the Ghana card because many of them haven't done it there. So I think it would be best if they gradually introduce it. Like this year, they shouldn't introduce it automatically like July. They should just make it flow like maybe this year up to like next year. And then they'll introduce it completely.
That only the Ghana card should be used.
Honestly, I don't think it's fair because it's not everybody that has it at this point. Because especially when you consider the elderly people, it's not everybody that has the opportunity to go and register. And looking at the line and all those hectic moments, it was very hard for everyone to go and register. So I think it's not fair because if you need something, you have to go through all this tension and trauma before you can get it. It's not conducive at all. Honestly, you consider now we are supposed to register our MTN SIM and the Airtel, all these things you have to go and sit in the queue. So it's not like we have only one thing to do. We have a lot of things to do before the SIM card is ending March. And then look at the queue. So I don't think it's fair because even with July, you still have a lot of things to do.
Concerning the Ghana card, some of us have tried to do it. But let's say me myself, I reside at Ashama. I stay in Ashama. So I went there, that was last year, at the Ghana Revenue Authority there. So I went to do it, but looking at the queue there, they said the machine itself cannot do 10 people a day. Could you imagine that? So every day, if you are going there, you are asking, and I'm working too, you can't be talking to your boss that today I'm going to do my Ghana card, tomorrow I'm going to do my Ghana card. I know that a lot of Ghanaians are there. They haven't done it theirs. A lot of Ghanaians are there. They haven't done their theirs. And right now, everything is like protocol. When you have the money, you go, everything will be easy for you. But what about those that are struggling financially? They don't have anybody. How are they going to do about it?
From the Ghana card, let's now focus on our country's economy. And I must say, it isn't positive news. The verdict of international ratings firm Fitch on the Ghanaian economy is not too good. We have been downgraded, and this is the lowest we have come since 2003. There are concerns that government will not be able to settle its debt, which have significantly increased, particularly in the pandemic era. But well, at least the government has reassured that the fundamentals of the economy are still strong.
Earlier this month, international ratings agency Fitch downgraded Ghana's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating IDR to B negative from B with a negative outlook. According to Fitch, the downgrade reflects the sovereign's loss of access to international capital markets in the second half of 2021 following a pandemic-related surge in government debt. It noted that this comes in the context of uncertainty about the government's ability to stabilize debt and against the backdrop of tightening global financing solutions. It also noted that Ghana's ability to deliver on planned fiscal consolidation efforts could be hindered by the heavier reliance on domestic debt issuance with higher interest costs in the context of an already exceptionally high interest expenditure to revenue ratio. Fitch further noted that Ghana has sufficient liquidity and other available external financing options to cover its near-term debt financing without Eurobond issuance. However, there's a risk that non-resident investors in the local bond market could sell their holdings, particularly if confidence in the government's fiscal consolidation strategy further weakens, placing downward pressure on its reserves. But speaking at a press briefing in Accra, Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta assured that government is focused on ensuring that its fiscal consolidation and revenue mobilization plans are not compromised.
I've seen what the international capital market is reacting to. The scene, that engagement that we went through Parliament with, leading to our spreads in the bond market, going, I guess, north of 1,000 basis points, which I indicated that it sort of freezes you in a sense out of the market, or you go in at a price that becomes quite ridiculous for us. So, for example, as I mentioned, $1 billion bond of 500 more basis points, 50 million a year, 10-year instrument, 500 billion. So those are the costs of democracy if we don't manage it well. And that's what leads to the confidence issue. I think for this year, we were quite clear that with regards to our SDRs, which we have, which we may use about 3/4 of a 750 million, that will help bridge the gap and then find a more innovative way of doing the balance of 750 towards the latter end of the year. So we will be able to manage the issue of entry or non-entry into the international markets.
It's been a year since the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Isn't it just amazing how time flies? The much talked about agreement, which is the largest in the world, was expected to make trading amongst member countries easier. But 1 year down the line, how has it fared? Let's hear from the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA. On the 1st of January 2021, the much anticipated African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement commenced trading with its headquarters in Accra. Arguably the largest trade agreement in the world, the agreement is estimated to be as large as 1.3 billion people across Africa, with a combined gross domestic product GDP of $3.4 trillion. The major focus of the AFCFTA is to improve intra-African trade by removing barriers, including duty payments, among others. But it appears the agreement wasn't able to live up entirely to its mandate, as some indigenous businesses, Casa Preco Company Limited and Gandor Cosmetics Limited, were reported to have faced challenges in exporting their goods duty-free to South Africa. President of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, says a lot more efforts will be required to improve the fortunes of the agreement.
We know that most people did not take advantage of this continental free trade area based on so many issues that have been sorted out. The issues of rules of origin and all that, the permissible goods as against impermissible goods, all these things have not been sorted out. And we believe that the success of it have to be given to us by the Continental Free Trade Secretariat itself, so that we can do proper evaluation. This is what we are expecting. Otherwise, I must say, people do not take full advantage of this, and the evidence is there for everybody to see. And so I think the earlier we sit down, then this time I believe that they will have to engage with the proper stakeholders than maybe the technocrats, because we are the traders, and then they should talk to us, the secretariat should engage us, all of us, the stakeholders in Africa, the traders. They should find a way to bring us together for us to also tell them what is militating against the success of the continental free trade.
He further highlighted some of the challenges his members have had under the AFCFTA.
Yeah, our main problem is about transportation, ease of transporting these goods across the globe. And then the issues of the rules of origin was not even conclusive. So if you do not know what is permissible for you to trade in, what are you going to trade in? Are you going to be allowed to send the goods? You know that even bigger companies like Casapreco had issues when they send their first goods to South Africa and all that. So nobody could risk sending anything. So they have to bring out, evaluate what was success and what was what impeded against it in the first year. But what I would say is that the proper stakeholder engagement, when I say proper stakeholder, shouldn't be that the trade ministers are working on this, the technocrats are working on it, the diplomats are working on it, without the real input from the trading community. We apply the roots and we know what our frustrations are. And so this is the main cause for people not actually taking advantage. And then also the deferred and the staggering of the import duty, because the most attractive of all this is the waiver of tariffs. And so, but it is not complete waiver. What it is that they have staggered it over the years. So the main effect that will push people into enjoying this continental free trade is not yet felt, because maybe the waiver is so negligible that it's still competitive and more competitive for the people to go to Asia and other destinations to bring goods rather than from within Africa.
The AFCFTA hasn't been entirely fraught with challenges. The Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, believes it's been quite promising.
In January 2021, free trading officially commenced under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AFTA. 4 days later, 2 Guinean companies became pioneer exporters of products using the AFTA preferences, marking a major milestone in the short but eventful history of the trade pact. The AFTA aims at accelerating intra-African trade and boosting Africa's trading position in the global market by strengthening Africa's common voice and policy space in global trade negotiations. As of 2021, 36 countries had deposited their instruments of ratification and also ratified the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. With the members in agreement, the initiative promised to remove various trade barriers to improve trade amongst member countries. It is arguably the largest in the world, with an estimated market of about $3 trillion. A year down the line since its implementation, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, says its members have benefited immensely.
In AGI, we were extremely excited when it was launched because, number one, the head office is here in Ghana. So it remains a strategy for more companies in Africa and international to situate their head office in Accra. So there are several discussions over this past 1 year to relocate companies' head office to Accra and to expand the industrialization program in Ghana. So for us, that's exciting. The program essentially is to be able to export duty-free, quota-free, between and among countries in Africa. This program is a process. Typically, such agreements take time to come to full fruition. So we have very little success to report in terms of showing you figures of companies that are able to produce and export under the agreement. However, there are many companies that have adjusted their production situation because of the agreement. So for the first time, we've got export debts in most of our companies. That's a good thing.
Let's stay a little longer with the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI. Some of the major challenges of local manufacturers have always been the high cost of credit and power. The newly sworn-in president of the AGI is urging the government to address these concerns to drive industrial growth.
The investiture ceremony, which was held in Accra, saw Dr. Humphrey Imdake being sworn in as president of the AGI by Supreme Court Judge Mrs. Gertrude Tokono. Other notable persons who took up new positions were Mr. Ashok Mohinani as vice president for large-scale firms, Mrs. Grace Ame Obeng as vice president for SMEs, Mr. Ralph Aite as treasurer, along with 35 council members. The new national council members are expected to steer the affairs of the association for the next 2 years, which is from 2022 to 2023, while thanking the gathering at the event and touching on key issues like the need to chart the path of industrialization without fear or favor, and also calling for the reversal of the benchmark discount policy. Dr. Imdake urged government to pay particular attention to the lingering issues of cost of power and cost of credit.
Going forward, some key policy issues we will be pursuing will include reconsideration of the tariff regime that requires industries to subsidize domestic use of power. It is our opinion that if we are to compete in the African Continental Free Trade market area, we must really look at our cost of power. In addition to that, we reiterate government's need to be intentional about creating financial support systems for industries, particularly SMEs, to nurture and grow them. As the immediate past president of the vice president for the SMEs in AGI, I'm very familiar with the challenges which include cost and access of funding, amidst others, for the SMEs. We urge government to develop innovative ways to support the SMEs as they are currently doing.
While taking note of the calls by the new president, the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Charles Edubuahin, noted that all and sundry must support the drive for more revenue, which will translate to cheaper credit for industry.
I took note of the incoming president's recommendations or suggestions about a review of the ECG tariff regime and financial support for industries, especially SMEs. And I think another factor that we really need to look at is how we can reduce the cost of credit. We can't grow businesses without cheap credit. We need to be able to ensure that government reduces the crowding out of the private sector to allow private sector to access credit. We can only do that if government borrows less, and government can only borrow less if it raises more revenue. So it's all interlinked. We try and improve our revenue collection. It reduces the amount of government borrowing, which then means that banks are compelled to engage the private sector and lend to private sector to be able to meet their targets. So if we work together, we can have a much more mutually beneficial relationship.
The minister further added that enhanced revenue mobilization from all aspects of the economy is critical at this point, especially due to the current high debt levels of the country. According to him, government will, among other things, ensure the passage of the e-levy by the end of this month to aid in generating the needed revenue this year.
Another factor that we really need to look at is how we can reduce the cost of credit. We can't grow businesses without cheap credit. We need to be able to ensure that government reduces the crowding out of the private sector to allow private sector to access credit. We can only do that if government borrows less, and government can only borrow less if it raises more revenue. So it's all interlinked. We try and improve our revenue collection. It reduces the amount of government borrowing, which then means that banks are compelled to engage the private sector and lend to private sector to be able to meet their targets. So if we work together, we can have a much more mutually beneficial relationship.
If you're a business in the hospitality industry and haven't paid your tourism levy yet, I have some filler for you. Please ensure you do so as soon as possible because the Ghana Tourism Authority is currently embarking on an exercise to collect these monies owed it. I learned during the week they closed 3 hospitality centers around Hacho and Abokobi in Accra. You can never be too sure which area they will visit next. So please do the needful before they close your premise.
It's not a matter of targeting, but the issue is this. If we come, it's about non-payment. If we come and your check is ready, or your check is ready, we are only coming for the money, either the money or we close it down because we've given them some ample time. So these 3 facilities were not able to give us any undertaking of providing the check or maybe post-dated check or something. So that is how it happened. So around Hacho, we closed 2 in Hacho and then 1 in Abokobi. Yes, so in all we closed down 3. And I would say it's rather unfortunate, but we as an authority, we know the circumstances, we know the situation. As much as possible, we are trying to encourage the people to enter into tourism businesses. And as regulators, we need to crack the whip. We are not discouraging people and telling them that COVID is on and all that, so we are coming for money. But the monies are paid by patrons. So it's just like you are filing a tax return. Yes, so this is the situation.
We move now to fuel. Prices at the pumps are up again. Is it still news? It's almost as if every week comes with a different price. Now, it's about 7 Ghana cedis a litre. Who would have ever imagined that we could ever get here?
The Institute for Energy Security (IES) last week projected that on the back of the 7.2% increase in the price of Brent crude, the 9.46% increase in the price of gasoline, the 8.52% increase in the price of gas oil, and the 0.3% depreciation of the local currency against the dollar in the first 2 weeks of January, consumers should remain expectant of an increase of between 30 to 40 pesos per litre. Checks by City Business News as at 9 p.m. on Sunday, January 16, show that while a litre of petrol and diesel were going for 6 cedis 65 pesos at Goil, Shell was selling both at 6 cedis 80 pesos. Total, however, was selling a litre of petrol at 6 cedis 99 pesos and a litre of diesel at 7 cedis 5 pesos. Data from the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers show that both fuels in the second window of January last year were going for about 5 cedis 8 pesos, representing a year-on-year increase of about 40% when the increases at Total are taken into consideration. Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa, believes the increases will continue.
It's akin now to a football game without a goalkeeper. As many goals as could go in would go in. When world market prices go up, the trotro driver has to pay for it here. When the city depreciates, the trotro person and the average Ghanaian pays for it here. Again, when finance ministers decide to slap taxes, it is the trotro driver and the ordinary Ghanaian who have to pay for it as far as fuel prices are concerned. We leave all the taxes, we don't manage them. We also fail to manage the city, especially in relation to fuel import. This is the eventual outcome, I'm afraid. Nothing has been done. Nothing is being done. Finance ministers have turned a deaf ear to what the drivers and a section of all of us have been saying all the while. Bank of Ghana continues to also auction dollars to the open market when the fuel importers would have a very good need for these dollars in order to pay their suppliers. Unfortunately, nothing has changed. And so we are back to a new year. The increases is simply going to continue.
Every time fuel prices go up, what most people worry about is transport fares because drivers tend to agitate for an increase during such periods. But what about another group of people who don't necessarily move commuters around but help us with delivering our parcels? How does this issue of fuel price hikes affect their operations?
Fuel prices have risen by about 40% in the past 12 months, with a recent rise seeing some OMCs selling a litre of petrol and diesel either close to the 7 Ghana cedi mark or above it. Fuel prices per litre stayed around 6 cedi 50 pesos on average for a few weeks and then rose to reach an average of 6 cedi 70 pesos at most pumps in the past week alone. But checks by City Business News shows that some of the leading fuel stations in the country are currently selling a litre of diesel at 7 cedis 5 pesos, with others selling a litre of diesel and petrol just some pesos shy of 7 Ghana cedis. Courier or delivery service providers began to gain more relevance when more people began to opt for online services due to limited movement in the early parts of the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. These riders deliver items such as food, clothes, electricals, and even lab samples or drugs. Businesses in this sector rely heavily on fuel for their day-to-day operations and are therefore greatly affected by the continuous increments in fuel prices. Some owners of courier services explain to City Business News how bad this development is affecting them.
We use 50 Ghana for each motor, 50 to 45 Ghana cedis for each motor of each year's ride. And now the same motor, the same tank, when you go and fill it, you are buying around 85 to 90 Ghana cedis. I don't know whether it is the pump or what, but per my calculation, because it's business I'm doing, and I know that I fill my tank with 50 Ghana. But now it is now 85 to 90. So we are talking about 80 to 90% increment within 3 years.
For some customers, you have signed 1 year contract with them. And so with a fixed rate, regardless of fuel prices changing, because you signed a contract, the only way it can be adjusted is when there is a mutual agreement. What if the customer does not agree? It means that you've lost the business. So as for the effect, it is huge. It is increasing our cost of operation, and it is making us lose customers to individuals. Because if you adjust your price, somebody else who is not an organization or a business will either take less.
Unfortunately, customers have no choice than to bear the brunt of the price increment. Thomas Adbeti talks about some price adjustments he's had to make to break even.
At first, we take 15 cedis if we are picking 3 or 4 items from you, because maybe the pickup, we consider that we are coming to you and we are picking 3. But now we take 25. We take 25, 20 within Accra. And we have our own definition of Accra. Yes, we have our own definition. When we say Accra, we are talking about Accra like maybe from here to Nungwa, to Spintex, to Kandeshi, to Maryland. But when we go beyond that, like Medina, let's say Adenta, Dodowa, Kaswa, we charge as high as 50 Ghana. Yeah.
Although many stakeholders have been pleading with government to help salvage the situation, these business owners have their own requests as well.
They should absorb some of the taxes. They should absorb it, because as a government, I believe you are just like a father. So if you don't want to hold on to some of the responsibility, you want to push all on us, then I don't see the purpose of government. That's what I believe. I believe government, you are the father. So you should absorb some of the pressure and maybe push some to us. Maybe you can cut some of the expenses somewhere and make sure that, because what they should look at is fuel affects everybody.
We have a lot of individuals coming in unregistered and they are operating. And so those of us who are registered and then are paying yearly charges for operating legally, at the end of the day, we are being affected, because a lot of illegal people are on the ground doing or taking businesses from us. So the Commission should enforce strongly the regulations. And the government should also make the working condition for us in the country a bit flexible. Fuel prices must come down, so we will all be happy.
Let's now talk about one government agency that has been making the news for the right reasons. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT. the National Pension Service Provider has saved over 200 million Ghana cedis from withholding pensions to ghost names on its register. If only we could save this much across all our government agencies, maybe we wouldn't have to borrow so much. The National Pensions Provider has always had the challenge of ghost names on its payment list, which is a drain on their resources and operations. As part of efforts to address the situation, the annual renewal of pension certificates was introduced to streamline pensions payment. The pensioner certificates are issued to pensioners aged 72 who retired under PNDCL 247 and 75 years for those who retired under Act 766 and are renewed annually. Since 2018, the Trust has monthly been deleting the names of pensioners aged 72 and above who fail to complete or renew their pensioner certificates. The Director General of SNIT, Dr. Foritin Kran, revealed how much the scheme has saved so far at the 5th Quadrennial Delegates Conference of the National Pensions Association.
Since I became Director General in 2018, we decided to take the bold step of withholding pensions from pensioners who have not completed the renewal of their pensioner certificate, right? And in some reportage, some people may call it a deleting of so-called ghost names, right? But all that it is that we hold those pensions until the person reaches out to us and say, hey, I'm alive, I'm not dead. And then we come to you, and then we authenticate you, and we restore all the pensions that we withheld. I'm happy to tell you that since we started this exercise in 2018, we have withheld about 235 million Ghana cedis.
He, however, stressed the need for effective measures to seal all the loopholes in the system for the benefit of the country.
Ideally, the day that somebody passes away who is over that qualifying age, we are supposed to know about it so that we can stop the next pension payment from going out, ideally. Unfortunately, our systems in this country are not set up for that. Hopefully, my vision is that we get there. So right now, I run the risk if a pensioner who is 75 or 80 passes away in January, I run the risk of paying that person for another 12 months before a year comes around for them to renew, you see. And by the time that money will be gone, unless the people who took over the person's bank account are so benevolent enough and they are, honest that they will return those monies to unclaimed accounts at the Bank of Ghana.
Special kudos to Dr. Foritin Kran and his team at SNIT. We need more of such stuff in the system. Now, still on pensions, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, says it is ready to prosecute institutions in the Bono East and Ahafo regions that refuse to pay the Tier 2 of their employees. When your neighbor's beard is burning, you should get water on standby for yours, a local adage says. So businesses in the other regions ought to pick a cue from this before it gets to their turn.
The National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, was established by the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, to regulate and monitor the operations of the country's three-tier pension scheme and ensure effective administration of all pensions in the country. The law mandates institutions to pay their Tier 2 of their employees after paying their basic pension, SNIT. However, some institutions in the Bono East and Ahafo regions are flouting this directive. The regional manager of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority for the three regions, William Ohineje, indicated at one of its sensitization programs for Christian Mothers Association of the Catholic Church in Sunyani that the institution is ready to prosecute institutions who refuse to pay the Tier 2 of their employees.
Every month, we receive lists of defaulters from the trustees. And the first, as at last year, 2021, we received 64 defaulters list from our trustees who are working with us in this region. And out of that 64, we were able to do that, and then 63 were able to comply. So you could see that it was really more than 90, even 99%. So as we move on, they know the consequences, that if they are not able, if they are not able to abide, we will prosecute them. They know that we can prosecute them. So as we move on this year, the list that will come, that is what we are going to base on, and we are not going to take it lightly this year. We are really going to intensify the education. We are going to intensify the compliance aspect of it. What I want to advise them is that they should do the needful. They know that the law says that within the 14 days they need to remit to SNIT and then to their trustee. So they don't expect us, or we don't expect them to keep it whilst their employers are working. Once they are thinking about their welfare, they should also think about the welfare of the employees. If not, and we receive it, we will come to them, and we are not going to take it lightly this year.
Mr. Hineji also admonished people in the informal sector to join the country's pension scheme.
So you can see that the whole Ghana, almost 85% are in the informal sector. And out of this 85%, only 4% are contributing towards the pension. So we have taken this upon ourselves this year to really intensify the campaign that indeed they can also do pension, they can also contribute towards pension.
We turn now to the Ashanti region, and Ghana Bauxite Company's majority shareholder, Bauxite Group, has offloaded its shares to another private investor. The concerns of a lot of employees when such things happen is whether there will be layoffs. But thankfully, the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry says employees of the company can keep calm because no such thing will occur.
Bauxite exploration at Awaso started in 1940, and for about a decade now, the Ghana Bauxite Company has been making efforts to reduce its losses. Following JIDEC's intervention coupled with challenges with its lease renewal, the company's major shareholder, Bauxite Group, has opted out of the business. Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister Miracle Duka spoke about the exit of the Bauxite Group from the business.
Must continue to see this kind of relationship going forward. Because we meet as a family. That is where we can actually jaw and chart a path that will lead to a brighter future. So I'm reassuring you that the process hasn't been truncated. We are on course. All the legal processes are being followed. Bauxite, going through all the company protocols of handing over their shares to any interested party that they are, will find a way of acknowledging. They are doing so, and government is also assisting them to do so. And we'll be happy to see a brighter future of this company.
He also assured the exit processes will not have any effect on the company's workforce.
So this company is in no way retrenching any workforce or any worker. We are with you, or rather deepen and strengthen and enlarge the work base of this company. So we are happy to meet you in 2022. We'll be happy to meet you in ensuing years and see GBC having more prospects in the mining enclave. The obvious vision of the government is to have a smelting plant, is to in a way have alumina established here in Ghana and not importing alumina where we export bauxite and then import alumina for a difficult cost to this nation.
The Ghana Bauxite Company has welcomed the intervention by government.
We believe of the vision of the government, and we also know, as operator of this mine, that the way to go is to get a refinery. As the minister said, we've mined for so long, yes. We've not made the profit that we have to make. because of locational disadvantage for the miners. So if you continue to export that raw material, you know where you are getting to. So if that vision has come that we need to get a refinery, we buy into it, and it's something we need to hold on tight to it.
Government, through the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, GIDEC, is working to refine bauxite in the country, hence the need to transform institutions like the Ghana Bauxite Company.
Did you hear about the African swine fever outbreak sometime last year? Over 3,000 pigs have so far died from the disease in the Ayakumaso enclave of the Sunyai West municipality of the Bunu region alone. Pig farmers there are appealing to the government for support to enable them to restart their farms. I can just imagine how hard hit these farmers are by this outbreak.
There are currently 200 pig farmers in the Ayakumaso and Tumesi Krom enclave in the Sunyani West municipality of the Bunu region who have lost their pigs to the African swine fever. Over 3,000 pigs have so far been lost to the disease. Most pig farmers in the area are currently out of business as a result of the impact of the disease. The farmers are therefore appealing for compensation from the government to restart their farms.
And then we started with about 20 sows and 5 BoS, a total of 25 parent stock. And in fact, it was progressing nicely. But we had a target of hitting 200 plus before disposing them off. When all of a sudden, somewhere around late September, we encountered this African swine flu, which wiped off all the animals. You can see the place is totally empty now. Even though the place was still under construction with more attachments that we were trying to do by supplying water automatically. But at the end of the day, we've lost almost everything. So before God and man, it is disheartening, very, very disheartening. All hopes are lost. We've put in a lot. We've put in a lot from our own efforts. And this accident has just wiped everything off. So we are pleading with the authorities to come to our aid.
I'm 48. Na ashasi no mesre me wofa no boam kakra. Na mra adwuma na kwani mu no me ko bank kokoji loan ene de support ye. Na yade baaye no akumo ni nyina na ya hu se abana eboa Ghana for mo na omuwu ye no omoboa wonom enti yesre aban Ayakumaso Tumesi Krom ene mpatam ha no ye mobo pa izense eno ha ne ye de hwe ye yire ne yema enti ze ye ba ye no kura no ema me ko bank wo se nka bank funu ko mbe hu me mobo no nka omaboa me efa sikase no ho ka jense skane dem be jende omutimfo ancheme na emom me hwe se na loan no interest na da so no enkosoro na mepe bosiamba betua ne ntentem nti esra ban so omehwe na omeso yasene.
Some of the workers on these farms have also been laid off.
For the piggery alone, we had a total of about 12 workers. But because of the pandemic, we've been forced to lay them off.
The Bunu Regional Director of the Veterinary Services Department of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Donald Joachim Dako, has been speaking on the farmers' appeal for compensation.
We wish government could also give compensation to that effect. But well, government is government. Whatever government will say is what we will take. You understand? So it will be okay, and we will be happy if they are also compensated. Well, as far as I know, compensation for African swine fever, there's nothing like that. But I know for the fact, for that of avian influenza, that one I know. I don't know anything indicating that as far as this office is concerned, because nothing has come from Accra or anywhere to indicate that to this office.
Ghana has for years now remained a key exporter of timber. However, stakeholders have been struggling to deal with the illegal felling of trees, which have made timber exports from Ghana fall short of the European Union's guidelines. In a bid to address the worrying situation and also improve revenue mobilization, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Forestry Commission have launched the Digitalized Property Mark Registration and Renewal Process and the Ghana Electronic Wood Tracking System.
Available data indicates that Ghana's forest cover takes up to 39% of the country's land size. 97% of our forest cover can be described as natural, while 3% can be described as plantation. Illegal cutting of trees has been a major concern of stakeholders over the years. With the introduction of the new digitalized system, which has been developed by staff of the Lands Commission, the regulators are hopeful that this challenge would be addressed. The digitalized system is primarily aimed at flushing out illegal harvested timber. The Forestry Commission and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources believe this will also significantly help in revenue generation since various loopholes would be blocked. Speaking at the Chankrom in the Adjacent Municipality of the Ashanti region, where the initiative was launched, the Sector Minister, Samuel Wijinapo, noted that it will also contribute in making Ghana meet set global standards.
Over the past few years, Ghana's response to the European Union's Forest Law Enforcement, Governance and Trade Initiative to trade only in legal timber is one such strategic move that positions the country to remain relevant on the market that has been set on a path of change for almost 2 decades now. This initiative could form the basis of the voluntary partnership agreement with Ghana, has been the subject of discussions at various sessions of the Ghana-EU political dialogue. I am happy to note that the completion of this technological infrastructure brings us closer to concluding this aspect of the dialogue with the EU.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, John Alote, on his part stressed that a new system lessens the burden of players, as the registration, which used to take about 2 months, can now take only a day.
So if a contractor, for instance, is in the northern part of the country, he will have to go to all the districts that he operates, all the regions, and then travel all the way to Accra to finally get the property mark renewed. And he or she will have to do this twice in a year. Averagely, information from the industry indicates that it takes about 2 months to go through this process. Ladies and gentlemen, with this new application that we hope to launch today, it will be possible to renew this property mark in a day at one district of your choice if you present all the relevant documents.
Timber operators have welcomed the initiative and have called on the relevant authorities to institute measures to address challenges that may arise, particularly with respect to system downtime.
The introduction of these innovative platforms is a good indication of how collaboration with the Forestry Commission to address business challenges of the industry is beginning to yield dividends. While congratulating the Commission in taking this step, we would like to encourage you to be mindful of the usual problems that come with switching to a technology environment, such as system downtimes and customer experience issues.
The Venture Capital Trust Fund through the National Development Bank is expected to receive some $40 million from the World Bank to invest in its operations and on lending to the private sector. This will definitely help the fund in delivering on its mandate of providing financial resources for the development and promotion of venture capital financing for small and medium enterprises, SMEs, in priority sectors of the economy.
The Venture Capital Trust Fund was established by the Venture Capital Trust Fund Act 2004 Act 680 to provide financing for small and medium-sized enterprises. The establishment of the fund was an attestation of the country's commitment to supporting private businesses with long-term patient capital for growth, wealth, and job creation. In the last decade, the Venture Capital Trust Fund has created 7 funds with investments in over 60 companies and having leveraged additional $89.7 million from invested capital of $29 million. Sustainable direct jobs created from these investments are over 3,400 with an additional 13,500 indirect ones. Speaking during the swearing-in of the newly inaugurated 8-member board of the Venture Capital Trust Fund, Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta indicated that the World Bank is committing some $40 million to the fund through the National Development Bank for its operations and on lending to the private sector.
If you look at most of these funds that have grown, they are usually able to leverage whatever you give them by about 10 times. So with this $40 million that is coming through our resources from the World Bank, they really should be able to leverage that. And it is that type of entrepreneurship that they themselves should show. But as I mentioned, the visible hand of the state must always be there to somehow prod them and find other resources to support them.
He, however, tasked the new board to introduce innovative ways and strategies to support private businesses and help increase the total value of investments attracted into the country.
In the last decade or so, I think you have created some 7 funds of investments in over, is it 60 companies? 60 companies, having leveraged an additional close to $90 million from invested capital of $29 million. So sustainable direct job created from the investments, over 3,400, of additional 13,500 indirect ones. Yet a lot more can be done. As per BoG's data, the percentage share of 3 to 5 year loans and above 5 year loans in 2018 were 18.1% and 15% respectively, showing you that there's just no long-term capital. I think one of our bond transactions, we did a 41-year just to register that Ghana can be looked at as a long-term play, and that hopefully sets, the ground for entities like yours to be able to go also much longer.
The newly inaugurated 8-member board of the Venture Capital Trust Fund includes the former managing director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Dr. Kofi Yamwa, who is the board chairman of the fund. Other members of the board include Yao Owusu Brimpong, who also doubles as the chief executive of the fund, Dr. John Kuma, a deputy minister of finance, and Kosi Yankee Ai, a chief executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency. Others are Antonio Kisei, Mabel Nana Nyakwa Pobli, Brian Frimpong, and Ifwa Apenting.
Well, our time is up. Thank you for tuning in to the most watched business show in the country. This is the Business Weekly Show here on City TV. Please don't miss out on the Business Dashboard. It airs at 10 p.m. every weekday on City TV and repeats the following day at 10:30 and 7 a.m. just in case you miss it. And our website, citybusinessnews.com, has regular business news updates for you. My name is Michael Obodu. Catch you same time next week. Please hit me up on Twitter @mobodu and stay safe, stay informed. Bye-bye.